I wanted to talk briefly on accessibility in forms, just because so many people utilize forms that you've got to make sure your sites, especially if they have a lot of people, that they're using accessibility tags on those. One that's really common, and I used to not put much importance on, but I do now for sure. It's called the label tag, and the label tag is something that you're going to, do something like this. Okay, I'll just show you how this works. So I've got here a label tag, and I'm going to put this email inside of this label tag. Okay, and then I want to associate this label tag with this item right here. And so the way I do that is I say for equals, and then I put the ID of that input box. And so we don't have one here, so let's do one. So I'm going to say ID equals email, and I can say for email, and now it's associated these two. So let me look at this. Let me show you how this works. So now when I click here on email, do you see how my cursor came up? Okay, so this is kind of interesting because I can take this and I can put it at the bottom of my form, and I can reset it, and I can see there's that email. I click on email, and you see how it's blinking now here, and it's selected that. And so label is a way we can use to make it a little bit easier so people can click on things. Right now, I might want to click on yes to select that, but I can't because I haven't labeled that and made that association. And so, that would be really easy to do. All I would have to do is just wrap a label around this. I could take yes out. I could put it right there. I need to say something like for equals yes. And then in here I need to do, I'm not going to check that, I'm going to say ID equals yes. And now when I refresh it and I click on yes, it selects that item. So again, form controls really should be using these labels as much as possible all over the place. Okay, so I could click on be a good fit and this text area would go live, or kind of monkey do you want, and this would drop down as if I'd clicked on it or something. Just again, really helps out. One other thing you can do to kind of help out your page is using something called field sets, and it kind of is a way to identify what elements are part of a form. So in order to do that, what we need to do is we need to give a field set inside of our form controls. So right here, I'm going to do a field set, okay, and then I will wrap that around all of my content down here to the bottom, okay. And if I want, I could probably tab those over so we can see where those go. And I need to add in our legend, and so I'm going to do that, and maybe we'll just put in here our adopt a monkey. And I'll put that right there in the legend. We'll take a look at that one. Refresh it, and you can see here how now it's drawn this line around our form and put up here in the legend, adopt a monkey. Now we can change this with CSS. All we would have to do is look at the legend and make it bigger and change the sizes, and we could change the field set lines and everything we want to. This is an older tag you typically see in a lot of older forms, but it still has its place at different times, and it's fine. Another thing we can use and do is something called a tab index, all right? And a tab index lets us, when somebody's come to their browser and they're using tab, typically when I tab around, it's going to tab to the top item of the page. But we might want it to jump down to a certain part of our page. And so in this input, we'll have this input type email. I'm going to type out tab index equals 1. And we can do something maybe to show the example here. I'm going to come down to the select tag, and I'm going to do a tab index of 2. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and refresh this. Okay, and now I'm going to hit tab. All right, it's tabbing across the top here. Okay, so right there. So I click on that and I hit tab. You see how it jumped down to the select box right there before it continued on, and then it went back up the top. Again, it's just kind of setting an order on how we want to tab around the page. I can't say I use this a ton, to be honest with you, but it is one way that we can, add that extra level of accessibility for those who use tab a lot on their keyboard. The last thing I'm going to show you is called the access key. And access key, you might do something like E, all right? An access key is something that if we do a keyboard shortcut, so you can see here, if I'm a Chrome user in Mac, I can hit Control and Alt and the letter E, and it will automatically take me to that form control. And so if I hold down Control, Alt, and E, whoops, that had another shortcut apparently applied to it. I need to change that. But that will change, and you can do some things here. Maybe we can look at this example where we want to click H, and so I come over here and Control Alt H, and you can see where it's highlighted that item there, for example. And you got to make sure, unlike my example, that the keyboard shortcut is not set up for something else like I did just now. So tab index and access keys, again, both two ways to add that little extra functionality and when you're working inside of your form.